have the heart of a flyer. I will teach you the ways of the air." Sammy's eyes widened with joy. "Thank you, Mr. Owl." From that day on, Sammy trained hard to become a flyer. He practiced jumping from branch to branch, trying to soar through the air. At first, he would only go a few inches off the ground, but slowly he got better and better. One day, Sammy gathered all his strength and jumped. To his surprise, he stayed airborne for a full minute before landing gracefully on the soft forest floor. A wide grin spread across his face. "I did it," he cried out, his voice filled with elation. But his joy was short-lived. As he looked up, he saw that the branches he had jumped from were now far out of reach. Sammy had soared too high, and now he couldn't get back down. As panic began to set in, he heard a familiar voice. "Don't worry, Sammy, I'll help you." It was the owl. With a mighty flap of his wings, the owl glided down and landed beside Sammy. "Hop on my back, little squirrel," he said. And with that, they were off, soaring effortlessly through the sky. As they flew, the wind ruffled Sammy's fur and the sun warmed his face. It was everything he had dreamed of and more. When they reached the top of a tall oak tree, the owl said, "Here you go, Sammy." And with a gentle nudge, Sammy found himself back on solid ground. From that day on, Sammy was known throughout the woods as Sammy the Squirrel, Flyer Extraordinaire. But as time went on, Sammy grew bored of the whispering woods. He wanted to see the world beyond the trees. One day, as Sammy was practicing his flying skills, he met a young sparrow named Pip. "Wow, you're really good at flying," Pip chirped. "Thanks," Sammy replied. "I've been practicing for years." Pip hopped from foot to foot nervously. I want to ask you for a favor." Sammy tilted his head in curiosity. "What is it?" he asked. Could you take me with you on one of your flights? I've always wanted to see what it's like up there." Sammy's heart melted at the sight of the nervous sparrow. Of course, he agreed to help Pip, and soon they were off, flying side by side. As they soared higher and higher, the trees below them became smaller and smaller until they were nothing but tiny green dots. Sammy and Pip flew past fluffy white clouds and over sparkling rivers. They flew until the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. Sammy felt a pang of sadness as he realized that soon it would be time to return home. But before that, he wanted to show Pip something truly spectacular. He took a deep breath and dived, swooping and soaring through the air. Pip let out a joyous chirp as the wind ruffled his feathers. Together, Sammy and Pip flew until the moon replaced the sun and the stars twinkled above them. Just as Sammy planned to turn back, a strong wind caught them and swept them away from their course. Before they knew it, they were lost, and the familiar sights of the Whispering Woods were nowhere in sight. Fear began to creep into Sammy's heart, but he knew he had to stay strong for Pip, who was much smaller and much more scared than he was. Suddenly, Sammy spotted a faint glow in the distance. "Look, Pip, there's some light over there," he cried out. With renewed hope, Sammy and Pip flew towards the glow. As they got closer, they realized it was the light of a campfire. Sammy quickly flapped his wings, hoping to reach the fire before they lost consciousness from exhaustion. But just as he thought they had made it, another gust of wind knocked them off course once again. Sammy and Pip tumbled through the air, completely drained. Sammy's wings felt heavy and his body ached from the long flight. They were too weak to keep going. As darkness enveloped them, Sammy closed his eyes, resigned to their fate. But instead of crashing to the ground, they landed softly on something warm and furry. When Sammy opened his eyes, he found himself on a bed of leaves inside a cozy den. A family of hedgehogs surrounded him, their faces etched with concern. "Oh, you poor dears," one of the hedgehogs exclaimed. "You must be exhausted." Another hedgehog offered them some berries, which quickly gave them a boost of energy. "We found you in the forest clearing," said a third hedgehog. "We couldn't just leave you there." Sammy and Pip looked at each other, their eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you so much for helping us," Sammy said. "But we need to get home." The hedgehogs nodded understandingly. "Of course, the Whispering Woods is quite a distance," one of them said. "Why don't you rest here for the night and continue your journey in the morning?" Sammy and Pip gratefully accepted the offer and soon drifted off to sleep. In the morning, after a good night's rest and a breakfast of juicy worms, Sammy and Pip thanked the hedgehogs and set off to find their way back home. Sammy's heart was filled with appreciation for his new friend, Pip, and a newfound respect for the challenges faced by those who dared to explore the world beyond their own backyards. As they flew, Sammy realized that being lost wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It had led them to an adventure filled with new friends and valuable life lessons. And that is the end of our story. If you enjoyed this bedtime story, don't forget to subscribe for more enchanting tales. Sweet dreams, little ones, and may your adventures always be filled with courage, kindness, and a sprinkle of magic. Until next time, fly high, little squirrel, fly high.